This is episode 53 of Off Script with Trish Glose, intimate interviews and fun conversations with very interesting people. In front of my microphone today is Taneea Browning. Hello, Taneea.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning to you. You are the executive director of Direct Involvement Recreation Teaching, otherwise known as DIRT.
Yes,
DIRT.
Yes, I am. DIRT. It
Okay.
is DIRT.
I like it. Sounds really interesting. We're going to talk about it because I don't exactly know what you do.
Yes.
That's why you're here.
Yes, and you're not alone.
Right.
Lots of people don't quite know.
What do you do?
Who are you?
Yeah, dirt. What's that? Okay, so we were just talking about how deep our voices sound today.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm getting over a cold still. It's been weeks. Are you getting over a cold?
It's an allergy thing.
Oh,
nasally. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. You also said you didn't realize that we were being video recorded too. Surprise!
Yeah.
And then I just said, we were talking about editing this podcast, and I say proudly, I do not edit this podcast at all. It's a long form interview. It is what it is. What you hear is what you get. And I just said, maybe, I have my filter on for the 4-letter words.
Yes. I can do that.
Okay.
Absolutely. I have a young child, so it's
Okay.
The filter's there.
Okay. But you said you also have been on a construction site for the last few weeks.
Yes, I have. It's been incredibly interesting. I love it. And yeah, I don't usually have to wear my filter as often there, but I can.
How fun.
Yeah.
Just let it rip.
Alrighty.
Have you learned some new words on the construction site?
I would say some new combinations. So
Ooh.
yeah.
Okay. When I hit the record button and turn this off, we'll talk.
Okay.
So I've heard a lot about you through a very awesome man, Chris Brown.
Oh my goodness. Yes.
He was on this podcast a few weeks ago, and he said, you have to talk to Taneea.
Oh, so sweet. He's amazing. Incredible human being, architect, kind, loving, just like incredibly thoughtful with his design. So yeah.
I pick up on that for sure. We're going to talk a tiny bit about Chris Brown because there's this huge collaboration. There's this huge project going on in Central Point. It was just recently in the Mail Tribune, an article. We're going to talk about that. It's called Craterworks.
Yep.
We're going to talk about Craterworks. But first, Taneea Browning, where are you from originally?
Oh, I was born in Ashland.
Wow.
Yep.
Oregon girl.
Totally Oregon. Yep.
Okay. You grew up in Ashland. You grew up in Southern Oregon.
Well, I was born in Ashland, and then we had a stint about a decade in the Willamette Valley.
Okay.
And then we moved back to the Rogue Valley.
Okay. What was the reasoning to go to Willamette?
My parents. Interesting. My dad was selling solar in the 80s. So yeah, I know, right? I don't know.
Ahead of his time.
Totally. Well, and so there was a lot of things that he introduced. We actually lived off the grid before it was chic, which is a whole nother podcast. But yeah.
How cool.
So 80 acres. Mm-hmm.
Up in the Willamette Valley?
No, here.
Oh, here.
On the backside of Roxanne, actually.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what we moved back to the valley for.
So off-grid, explain that to me. I mean, I have an idea of what that means, but what does that mean?
Solar power.
Okay.
In fact, there's a story about a 10-speed bicycle my dad used to make me ride if I wanted to watch television. So it was very meritocratic. You had to earn whatever it was that you wanted. But anyways, so it was
How cool.
Before tiny homes, we had small house, in the country, gravity fed water, so it was just kind of country.
Well, what was the reasoning for that? Just because, to see if you could?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. More in contact with nature and your surroundings and kind of being present. And so my parents were kind of hippies. And I know with the first name like Taneea, it was probably hard to guess.
Well, I wasn't. I was thinking hippie, but I didn't want to say hippie.
Right. And I have, I tell, people, because I always want to know, what does your name mean? Where are you, where does that originate from? And I, I'm like pretty sure it was just Scrabble. Like people call her Taneea because there's like a whole bunch of vowels in there.
Throw some letters up in the air.
And it's a horrible score. They're like all 1 point.
Oh man, I like it. Did you grow up with siblings?
I do. I have a sister, and she's here in the valley as well, and then a half brother and a half sister who are not in the valley. So
Awesome. So it sounds like as young children in the country, did you grow up just being dirty and playing and?
Well, really, we didn't have the video games. No. I think it was like the Nintendo 64 back then, and my parents were like, go be bored, go find something to do. And so there was a lot of creativity. There was a lot of boredom, and just building forts, hanging out, reading. So we had to kind of entertain ourselves. So yeah, it was country. Well, I say it was country, but some of my friends have told me it's actually wilderness. They're like, you did not live in the country. It was the wilderness.
Right. Well, country, I mean, I'm from South Carolina, so
Okay.
I consider that country, but I know what you're saying. It's the forest land
Right.
of Oregon.
Yes.
I get it. So what decade are we talking? You're growing up when? The 80s?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
When do you move back to Ashland or
We moved to Eagle Point.
Eagle Point? Okay.
Yes.
When was that?
So that was 88.
Okay. And
Ish.
you're how old?
42. I know. I remember my mom used to forget how old she was. I was like, really, Mom? And I'm like, I'm pretty sure I'm 42.
Okay.
Or I'm turning 42.
Right.
in
The
November.
math is, yeah. So, I mean, you're a kid. You're a kid in the 80s,
Yep.
moving back to Eagle
Yep.
Point.
10, 12,
Okay.
the big hair. Medford Cinema was still on Biddle, which was a big green movie theater before there was anything else there. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Did you have big bangs?
I did. I had horrible bangs.
So did I. Huge.
Aquanet.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it was
You
bad.
would tease
Yeah.
the bejesus out of your bangs and then
yeah.
spray them so
I
they
had
would
to
move.
smuggle hairspray into school. Yeah.
Why? Because
I don't know why, actually. I don't know if I was hiding it from the teachers or my sister.
yeah, my mom didn't allow me to wear makeup as a
Oh, yeah.
youngster. So I would put some on in the most natural way so she couldn't tell,
Oh, wow.
right?
See, that's so smart. I would just sneak it to school.
Yeah, I did that too a little bit. And the mascara, just
yeah,
daub it
eyeliner.
on. Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. So what were you like in high school then? And where'd you go to high school?
So I went to Eagle Point.
Okay.
And I was an athlete. So I did, volleyball, basketball, track, honor society. So I was, kind of good kid-ish.
I was just going to say,
Yeah,
you're
ish.
in sports,
Yeah.
honor society.
Well, I mean,
What kind of trouble did you get
yeah,
into?
I didn't get caught really. I mean, I did, but I mean, I was a good student. You know what I mean? So it was like, and I never did anything horrible. So
Right.
like skipping school. And
Taneea.
I know, and it was so bad. My dad's probably gonna kill me about this, but I got so good at forging his name. He didn't even know the difference. He told me this later when I was in my 20s. Sorry, Dad. Sorry.
Yeah. We are confessing all of our
I know.
sins right now.
Right now.
Forging his signature on what?
My attendance slips.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I
Okay.
was just like, please excuse Taneea from blah, blah, blah.
Okay. So you're in
But
high
I was
school-
still getting great grades.
Yeah.
So I was like, if I only have to go half the time.
Right. I mean, hello, success.
Right?
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I'm smart. Yeah, exactly. So in high school, what are you thinking you want to be when you grow up? What's next for
Oh,
you?
goodness. Yeah. So I really wanted to be an attorney.
Really?
Yes, yeah, and I actually really love attorneys. I think they're really smart, and I think that was kind of in that period of my life. That was like people who were really smart were attorneys. You'd see them on TV; they knew all the answers to all the questions,
Yeah.
and so they were just like really helpful.
Yeah.
And so that's what I wanted. I wanted to have the answers.
Well,
be
I
able
think
to
when we
help.
see lawyers, doctors, I feel like in society we sort of put them up here because they go to extra school and
Right.
they have to know a lot to be
Yeah.
able to do things, brain surgery, for instance. Yeah. I mean, count me out.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
a little
But-
too much stress.
Yeah, so I get that. They're considered in our society super smart because they put in a lot of time to get to that point.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. So you're not an attorney. So
I'm
what
not.
happened?
I have friends who are attorneys. I play one on TV. No, I'm
Beautiful.
just kidding. I totally don't. So sorry. What was the question?
Well, so what path did you end up taking?
Oh, excellent question. And I get that question a lot now, right? So being involved with the school district, with the city, with all of the other things that I'm in, people want to know, what's your background in? What,
Yeah.
Who are you? What do
Yeah.
you do? And where'd you come from?
I
Pretty
need
much.
to see your license and registration, ma'am.
Oh, yes. Like, I don't quite trust where you're going. So anyway, I didn't become an attorney, I finished high school, got a great job with a local utility company, and really just started working my way there. I was married straight out of high school.
Okay.
And so I just kind of dug into the work. And then, I got a little bored with that. And I just kind of, I did what intrigued me next, things that I found interesting. And so I would dig deep into it. So I managed a company that did high voltage power line construction. So I just loved that. I mean, my background is very diverse. I worked for a Fortune 500 company in their HR department for years, so I worked in different fields to try and find out, what was it that I liked. And I really loved people. And so I was like, wow, getting to know all of these different people and their different ticks, little things that make them interesting and passionate about whatever it is that they do. And then, well, how can I be useful in that? How do I connect? And so that's what I really found is I was really more of a connector and listener, so I would listen to people and what they needed and wanted. And then in just my normal, everyday being, I would find out what other people needed or wanted. And I was like, oh, wow, well, I know this person that needs that and this and this. And
making connections.
It really was. And I was like, wow, I feel useful. Like what I'm doing is important. And so that's kind of the path I went on. And
so you ended up essentially connecting people with other people your job?
Kind of. And it was not very intentional at all. So then I had my son, when I was in my early 30s. And so I took time off from work. So I quit working in the HR department and stayed home. And so I was a stay-at-home mom for like 4 years.
Okay.
And then I got a little stir crazy and I was like, okay, well, what are we going to do? And that's when Dirt was born. I decided to have a nonprofit instead of a second child.
Okay. So let's back up though. You got married right out of high school?
I did.
Like 18?
Yes.
What?
Yeah. Everyone else was doing it.
Really?
Yeah, I make a point. It was a thing. No, I'm just kidding. No, I was madly in love, passionate. But you're 18, and so we were married for 10, 12 years. And so it was really great, phenomenal guy. And then it was just like, okay, like, we're a little bit older now. And it's like, well, this doesn't feel like it's the way that it's supposed to be. And so we parted. And then,
But you were married for more than a decade.
I know. Yeah.
So, I mean, there's something to be said of that a lot of people think you don't know at 18 what love is and shouldn't get married and all of that.
Yeah.
But it worked for you.
It did. And it was great. Those years are kind of the fun and kind of crazy and not, jumping off cliffs into water that you don't know really what's under. Not that I recommend that, but those are, the kind of things that I did. I don't know what other people do in my 20s. And it was great and exciting. And then, kind of looking down the road, it's like, well, is this going to work for the long haul, And
the answer was no.
And it didn't, we just kind of had different ideas of what old age was going to look like and what we were going to do and kind of what we wanted to do between then and at that time, the present. And so it was like, hey, let's be pals. Let's work through it. And it was, and great guy, best divorce ever. I mean, I know that sounds really weird.
It doesn't actually. And there's just nothing wrong with that. Sometimes you're just not supposed to be with this particular person forever. I think people who are together forever that's great.
Yeah. And my parents are together forever. I mean, and I was like, wow, and it's just like and maybe it's societal, maybe it's, cultural, maybe who knows what it is, but it seems like there's a season and it seemed to work really great for that season.
Totally. So now, did y'all have kids together?
No.
Okay.
We had 2 dogs.
That's kids.
It really is. And our dogs were pretty high maintenance. And you can't take you couldn't back then. You can't just take them to restaurants. You can't leave them in the car.
Right.
Pet sitters weren't as,
okay,
cool as they are
I'm going to ask a sticky question.
Uh-oh.
Did you still have the dogs when you got divorced? Was there a custody battle?
There was. He won. He won the custody battle, but I did get visitation, so I did get to go visit. And then I would take Zoe, the female dog. We would take her. I would take her to the park and in the car.
That's the cutest thing I've ever heard.
Well, and it's when I look at couples, and I think, I'm like, holy cow, they look like they're 12. I'm sure they're 18, and I'm sure that's exactly how people, looked at me, and I just get so excited for them, because there's so much to life, when you're just kind of in it and experiencing it, and it changes and you never really know. You think you may know what is going to happen, but really you have no clue.
So true.
And it's usually pretty amazing if you kind of just let it unfold.
So true. That's kind of how I live my life. I'm not lazy. I'm not complacent. I try not to be, but I do sort of tend to just let life happen and see where it takes me. and work hard at the same time.
Yeah. And people won't, like, people who know me are probably laughing right now because
Really?
they're like, oh, yeah. They're like, Taneea, letting things go, letting them unfold. Not so much. I mean, I strive for it. And in some ways I really do. But I'm probably categorized more as more of a control freak.
Okay. So no, let it go, Elsa.
Well, no, I mean, let it go. But as long as it is within these guidelines.
I'll let it go up to this point.
Right.
So the custody battle wasn't awful.
No.
Happily, he won. He got the dogs.
Yeah.
Okay. That's very sweet. So you obviously, do you get remarried?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Down the road, we do fall madly in love, new kind of phase, new focus, new kind of looking at what am I going to do? I'm not in my 20s anymore. Right. And so now what's important? What are the things that I find valuable, and growing old and being together, having, Arnold Palmer's on the front patio and watching the kids, and just kind of talking about nothing or not talking.
Or being silent.
Yeah. Which again, people who know me laughing right now.
Right.
Not
You're never
silent.
You're never silent. Okay. I feel the same way with me too. I was just going to say, being silent, it's actually, you were talking about, you have made it a skill to listen to other people. That's hard to do. A lot of people don't listen. They just hear you, but then they are getting ready to say what they want to say next. They don't really we don't listen to each other.
Right. Well, and I find people intriguing. Like, what is it? Like, where are they, where are they coming from? Like, what viewpoint? And that interests me. And maybe that's because I have such a diverse background, and so business, corporate, construction, I've taught, I've been an instructor at RCC for over 20 years.
Wow.
With traffic control, so I've been in construction for a long time.
Professor Browning.
Well, I'm sure, if you say so. But it helps me relate better, I think, to the world when I listen, because it's not just me and what I'm seeing from my viewpoint.
Right.
So I think it's fun.
Yeah, well, I think we should listen to each other a little more. I think if we all listened to each other, we wouldn't get ourselves into weird problems that we face.
Well, and really focusing on what is it that we have in common, and what are we both interested in, or as a group, what can we do? What do you need? What do you want? How can I help you get that? What is it?
CBS This Morning has a segment they do maybe once a week, once a month. And the whole gist of it is we have more in common than we have what divides us.
Yep.
So there's more that's in common between us all than what divides us, actually. We just need to pick those out. Pay attention.
Yeah. Well, and sometimes it's a little harder, right? It's like, but I have to think a different way? No. Or I just have to think, or I just have to stop talking. All of these little things. It's like, wow.
Yeah. Stop talking.
Just listen.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Bingo. Okay. So you take some time off.
Yes.
Because you have a baby. You have a baby. How old's that baby now?
Oh, he turns 9 in 2 weeks.
It's fast, huh? You blink and done.
And then I'm like, okay, so for as long as he's been alive now, in that much time, he'll be 18.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, when they graduate from high school, it's
can't
like,
handle.
Hits you right in the gut.
Yeah. So my husband, he works for the fire department. And they do 81, whatever their truck numbers are. So the joke at the house is 81 mommy can't handle. Like, 81 mommy can't handle. Sorry.
What fire department does he work for?
Medford. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they work together.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Your husband is Chase.
Yes.
Okay. All the things are coming together now.
Yeah.
Medford Fire Department's pretty special.
They're pretty phenomenal.
Yeah. A really good group of guys. My husband hates the word hero because he only thinks it should be tossed around when someone's truly deserving of it.
Yeah.
But I call them my heroes because they literally save lives every single day.
Every day.
Every day.
And they don't even think about it.
No, it's not even batting an eye.
Nope. And so gentle. You see these big, burly, and they just, they just care so deeply. And it's the sweetest thing to watch.
I mean, and little things like going on a call with a woman in her 90s and then some, the lawnmowers outside, they either finish mowing the lawn or they put it away or they just do little things around the house. So when they come back from the hospital, it's not like their house is in chaos.
Yeah. Yeah, it's phenomenal.
They
Those
are
little
amazing.
stories.
Okay, shout out to the Medford Fire Department there, right? So you have this baby, and then you're ready to, instead of having another child, you say,
Yes.
you start a nonprofit.
Yes.
Which is what?
Dirt. Direct involvement recreation teaching.
Okay, what is that?
So hands-on education through recreational activities. And so we started out doing free programs to the community, and then we ended up partnering with the school districts, the Central Point School District, to basically maintain the gardens. We recognized that teachers are very busy, and they have all the stuff they have to do as teachers. And while they would like to take classwork outside, they don't necessarily have the space. If they have the space, they can't necessarily maintain it. There's sprinkler systems, there's planting, there's all of these things that nobody wants to do, that has to be done for the space to be useful. So it was that need coupled with seeing that people want to be part of the solution. I would talk to people in the community, and they'd be like, yeah, kids need to get outside. They need to get, away from the screens. They need to not be, doing X, Y, or Z. They wanted them to be outside.
Right.
So what we did is we broke down volunteerism into little bite-sized chunks so that people could volunteer for an hour. They could volunteer for a day. Because not everyone can take time off from work to do Little League or, always go into the school. And so it helped also with continuity. So they always had one person to contact if they wanted to work in the garden, instead of having to go through each different school and then the teacher, and then the teachers change, and who's going to weed over the springtime on those breaks in summer. So so we did that. And then what we would do is we would invite the community in to those spaces within the school so they could find out what our schools were doing. Because again, listening to what people have to say, they think there's this big problem, and they don't know that they don't have all the information. And so inviting them in to see, this is what we're actually doing in our schools. These are, the places that teachers are taking the students. It breaks down those barriers. It breaks down kind of what they think is happening.
Sure. Bring me solutions, don't bring me problems.
Yeah. Well, and just gently observe that you are incorrect. Right? Instead of having it being forced down your throat, like you're wrong and this is it. Because very rarely do people change their mind. But if they can see that they were wrong, it's
so
a little bit
repeat
easier.
that. Gently observe.
I don't know. I just made it up.
It was it was brilliant. Gently observe that you are incorrect.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. Now I see why you do what you do, Taneea Browning. How does one start a nonprofit? That just seems overwhelming.
Well, what's really funny, not funny, partially my crazy.
Funny, not funny.
Yeah. Is there were times, it was long days. So, I had my son and infant, newborn, you're busy. But he would fall asleep at like 7, 8 o'clock, And so that would be from basically 8 to 11 o'clock at night is when I would do all my work for the nonprofit.
Brilliant.
And I remember, nights in front of the computer as I'm filling out the nonprofit paperwork, doing the
drinking
bylaws.
some wine, maybe.
No, I wish. No, but yeah, because you had to be completely focused, because you can't screw up on these documents and the finances.
That's where I'm going wrong.
Maybe.
Stop drinking the wine at night. Okay.
Kombucha, something.
Okay.
So yeah, I remember sitting there a couple of times and going, man, this is so hard. It is just hard. I don't have the answers. I don't know. And I would research and I would Google and I would go to the Oregon websites and I would just try and figure it out. And I would just tell myself, man, Taneea, you know what? If this was easy, everyone would do it.
Yeah.
And it's not easy.
Right.
And you will figure this out. It's not impossible.
I've had someone else on this podcast say that exact same thing.
Really?
Yeah. If it was easy, everybody would be doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not easy. And that's okay.
Yeah.
Life isn't easy.
No.
And it's not fair.
Right.
And I'm sorry.
And I'm sorry.
And I'm sorry.
Mic drop.
Peace out, we're done.
Exactly. So you're working with the Central Point School District?
Yes.
Okay. And you're currently still working with the Central Point School District?
Yes.
How did this idea of CreatorWorks come about? Because this is just fascinating to me.
Well, so it was Samantha Steele's the superintendent, Todd Bennett, he's the assistant superintendent. And so they, hands-on kind of STEM is nothing new. This makerspace idea has been around for a long time.
Right.
And then within the Central Point School District as well, they have them in the elementary schools. My son is in, second grade, and they're using saws and they're, hammering. And it's, it's pretty incredible. So those kids are going to demand more once they get into high school than the kids who are currently in high school, just because they haven't had the exposure. So, Samantha, there's a ADX up in Portland, which is a similar maker space.
Okay.
So Sam was up in Portland and noticed that there were people bringing like pieces of wood. She would run up there, and then they would. So she would see people bringing these materials into this building, and be like, well, "What is this? What is this?
What's happening in there?
Why are they bringing 2x4s and sheets of plywood like in the middle of Portland, like downtown?" So she investigated, and she found out, and she would have to tell you the whole story on how it was actually completely inspired. But basically, looking at, we have this need. How do we incorporate what the students need? Meet the state requirements, right? Because that's kind of why they got rid of the original wood shop, metal shop.
Right,
all
got to do that.
So you still have to follow the requirements. Once the No Child Left Behind kind of passed, so they had a lot of focus on the testing. So then how do we incorporate this hands-on application of the curriculum into the students' everyday needs? So, and how is it not an elective? Because we find that a lot of students may not think that they have the aptitude to be hands-on or want to, and they love it. So incorporating it into the core curriculum is key.
Right. Not making it something special that you can choose to take. This is what we're doing today.
Well, and some of the most interesting stories of some really phenomenal entrepreneurs is you listen to their story, and they talk about, I was an AP student, and I was, going to school on the West Coast, and this was my plan, and this is what I was going to do. And then something changed their course, and they ended up in, the Midwest, and they didn't have AP classes. And so they ended up in a wood shop, and they found this passion for what they ended up being incredibly successful in, and it wasn't what they originally planned.
Right.
And I think that happens a lot of times.
Sure.
And so, changing that conversation about you must go to a 4-year school, you must do this, you must do this. It's not realistic, and it's not what everyone wants to do.
Right. And it's not what everyone should do.
Yeah.
Just because it's, this is the plan for a lot of people. It's not necessarily the plan for everyone.
Right. Well, and we need to change the conversation, because we've had, decades where we've told people, students, you're not enough. If you don't do X, Y, and Z, you're not enough.
If you don't have a degree, you're not going to get a job.
And I get that question all the time.
Right.
People are like, well, what's your degree in? And why do you assume? Why is it? Because, and so I just think it's a matter in this space too, in CreatorWorks, right? We'll have people from industry, from the community, being in the space, showing students and community members. It's not just students. We have a whole group of people
so cool
who want to be involved and have skills to share with others. And so letting people see those success stories and how do they make it, and that natural mentorship and that rubbing of elbows. You look at what helps students, people in general, succeed in what they want to do, and it's that natural networking. I come from the chamber background. I was the Central Point Chamber of Commerce director for several years. And so, it's just seeing how that works and that support from a community, the mental health component. All of these things are addressed and supported in this space, which is one of the reasons it's just it blows my mind. So to get back to your question, how did this kind of happen? Samantha and Todd kind of had this idea of how it was going to work for the students, and then looking at the relationship that we had already established within the elementary schools.
Dirt.
Okay. Maintaining the grounds and making it available for the teachers. So when it makes sense, the teachers bring the students out to the garden. Whereas just in the high school, same thing. When it makes sense, the teachers will bring the students over to CreatorWorks, and we'll have a shop steward there that helps the teachers use the facility, but they are instructing the students.
Right. And there's, we're just going to remind everybody, CreatorWorks, because we did have Chris Brown on, who was the architect of the building.
Yes.
It's this massive space where all of these different skills can be taught.
Yes.
So there's a commercial kitchen.
Yep. Though it's in the process.
There will be a commercial.
There will be. Naming rights still available.
Right. There's going to be or will be a wood shop, a metal shop.
Yep. Wood shop, metal shop. Yep. CNC, 3D printer, laser printing, hand tools. We'll have custom classes where community members can come in and make a specific item of some kind. I want to do like a bench with planter boxes on the edge, something that gives you all of the skills that you need to learn how to operate the equipment, and you get to go home with a planter box and a bench for your front yard.
The goal here is so high school students, their eyes are opened up a little bit more like, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do, but I'm really good in this whole like construction thing. Maybe I should go into construction.
Well, and even sometimes as much, people are like, oh, I want to be a designer. I want to do this and this. And so they may sit down and they work in the design lab and they design whatever product it is. But then through working through the tools, they're like, damn, I am good at welding. Like, check this out.
Right.
And I love it. And there's this sense of accomplishment. And I have something to show for it. The first time I ripped a board on a table saw, I was like, holy cow. Like and I know it sounds really silly.
No.
But the power that comes from creating is like something you cannot articulate. You have to experience it. And I think that's what we've missed.
Right.
And this gives those people, students, community members, retired folks. I mean, this space is for everyone.
I know. It's not just for students. It's like a gym membership. You can pay, get a membership, and then you want to learn how to weld, go for it.
Yep, punch card. We're establishing a punch card so you can get in the door, for
awesome.
about $100, and you can and when you look at all the equipment that is there, it's amazing. Small business incubation, right? So that these entrepreneurs who can't afford all of the equipment will have space for them to lease and start their business. Help them with marketing. They can market their stuff and sell their stuff at the Saturday market.
Wow.
So it's like we really want to support them in every way possible so that they will succeed and that they will be able to go out and they can get brick and mortar or whatever it is that they want to do and then come back and share their skills and their successes with the next generation. It's a place for everyone to come and play.
You're not excited about this at all.
No, I'm not. No.
You totally geeked out.
I know. I'm sorry. I don't even remember what the question was.
I mean, it doesn't matter. But CreatorWorks, if people do want a membership, how can they get one?
Online.
Okay.
Or our grand opening is the 18th. So we'll have, the
of
ribbon.
May?
Yeah, in just a couple weeks.
Whoa.
Yeah. So super busy right now receiving equipment. And one of the things that we did do with this space as well is we intentionally purchased equipment that we knew. So we did a lot of industry tours and we found out, what different spaces, because the Valley is comprised of a lot of really fabulous small businesses.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the rogue thing is that everyone does their own thing.
No doubt.
And so what we found is that there were common tools in every single one of these industries. And so we've purchased those tools and we're inviting our members, we're inviting the community in to find out what is next. What do you want to use next? What will you use in this space? What do you want to teach? We have people who they'll say, I'm not an instructor. Well, but you're a teacher. You have skills and you're passionate. Let us help you share those with other people.
Absolutely.
So we're looking for people who want to instruct, who want to, maybe design something in particular. So we're really flexible with what the community wants. How can we make this space useful for you?
So you're opening the doors, but there's still more stages left of
more
this
to come.
building. Okay.
Yep. And so this is phase 1. And then we hope to have the commercial kitchen and the outdoor kitchen in phase 1.5, and then continuing to just gather community input for phase 2. And there's been talk of a recording studio, green screen, ceramics could be in 1.5 actually,
Very
along
cool.
with the commercial kitchen, sewing. So we've had a lot of interest in that, and we just we want to hear what people want to use the space for. We won't be able to accommodate everything, but where do we get the most activity? Because we didn't want to build something thinking that we knew and then not have people use it.
So this is really random. There's 2 things that are in my weird bucket list that I want to learn how to do before I die.
Okay.
Build an engine, a car engine.
Oh, okay. And we have an electric car.
Okay, perfect.
So check.
So, right? Okay, this is really odd. I want to learn how to butcher an animal.
I know someone.
Crickets.
I know. Yeah. Well, I'm like, I don't.
Crickets.
I know.
So I'm not assuming that CreatorWorks will be able to help me out with this, but those are just 2 skills. I'm very jealous of people who can sit down with a carburetor and just go to work at it, and it's very focused and very zen.
Yeah.
The same with, I think, butchering a a cow. I know it sounds harsh, but it is part of life. People do eat meat. I just think it's fascinating that how do you go about that process? How do you break this animal down, not waste anything, use everything? And we have people in this valley who are experts at that.
Montgomery Meats right down the road in Central Point, you know.
I'm
butcher.
just saying, I know it's not on the list for Crater Works, but you're listening to me right now,
I am.
Taneea. And so I'm just saying maybe there's a connection later in
never know.
phase 3.
Butchering.
Yeah. I don't know.
Or a field trip at least.
Yeah, or like a field trip and show us how you do that.
Yeah.
My husband thinks I'm full of crap. He's like, you would get close and you'd be like, I'm out. I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it. It's too much. So,
yeah, I can't even think about it. I'm like, I don't really.
I stumped you.
Yeah, I'm like, awesome. Well, let me point you in the right direction.
You're weird.
Not it.
So really exciting. This is opening up. I mean, probably I think by the time your podcast airs, Crater Works might be open to the public.
Okay.
That's exciting.
That's super exciting.
Are you hearing anything from students? What do they say about this?
We already have a student who is excited he wants to teach a skateboarding class. He has his own, so this is why it's so perfect. He already has his own clothing line. He has maxed out, you know, his mom is like, he needs his space, you know, so what can we do? How can we get him his own creative space? And
awesome.
this is what it's about, right? That small business incubation, there are tools that this facility will have that he needs. So through the membership model, through the, you know, small business incubation, we can help this student. I mean, the students are ecstatic.
That's awesome.
Well, and so the big learning curve that we have is, how do we tell people about what it is? Because it's longer than a 30-second elevator pitch.
It really is. The Mail Tribune just did an article.
Yes.
There's a story at ktvl.com that I did. I talked to Chris Brown. This was for the Cheese Festival.
Yes.
But it was more, the story was supposed to be about the Cheese Festival. And then I met Chris and I was like, it's got to be about Crater Works because this is fascinating. It is hard to wrap your head around what this is.
Yes.
So I would just say, do your research. Go online. Look it up.
Yeah.
And you know, go visit, right?
And we'll have tours. So people will be able to go online and book a tour. So we will do tours twice a week and probably more frequently towards the beginning, just knowing that we've got to get people into the space. That was the great thing about the Cheese Festival. I mean, that was 6,000 people in our space that we got to talk to about what it was.
Well, maybe when it opens, KTVL can come out and do another story.
Would love it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I really like the idea of something that really brings the community together. And this is what this is.
And it has something for everyone.
It really does.
It really, really does.
And the collaboration that it took to get this to happen.
Well, that and people want to see people working together. Specifically, they want to see their tax dollars being maximized.
Right.
So how do we, I mean, I'm involved with, you know, city government as well. And so I think that that's the best example we can really show our citizens is not only are we spending money wisely, but we're really figuring out how to maximize the impact. How do we work with other partners? How do we have that public, private partnership work together? And we can work together.
Yes.
And we will.
Yeah. Yes. And a project like this, I mean, where does the funding come from?
Well, and some people say, you know, they're like, wow, this is just so fast. And it's like, we've been working on this for 3 years. So it's not that fast at all. And so the funding comes from a couple of different areas, right? And so we have Measure 98 money that the school district, so the partnership, which I don't think we touched on very much. So Crater Works is a partnership with the school district.
Right.
And the nonprofit Dirt.
Right.
So the school district owns the building and it owns the equipment in the building.
Okay.
And so that was purchased with their Measure 98 money. There's a lot of grant funding that was in there as well. We had some foundations that really made an investment in this, seeing how important it was.
Awesome.
So those funds are very specific and they can only be used for certain things. So that's how that funding, the purchase of those are. So then through the other avenues of our revenue, right? So we have industry that will come in, then we have the membership that will come in. That is the support system. So we know that we will have to update the equipment. We know that we'll have to continue to change our programming, and that may not continue to be funded through the state. So how do we diversify those revenue streams, right? How do we make this actually fiscally sustainable? Because that's been the problem forever, is that stuff gets outdated. It's no longer relevant to industry.
Right.
And so we need to make sure we stay relevant and we stay in line with that. And that's how we're going to do that, is with those different funding mechanisms. With the community, we have sponsorship. Again, foundations that want to get involved, they can do that. There's naming right. There's all kinds of different ways.
Well, and if you're not relevant, it's going to die.
Well, it really will. And that's where we get to be nimble and we can change very quickly, because we aren't necessarily bogged down by some of those other issues that we would have to be. So that's incredibly helpful there. And I forgot what I was going to say.
It's okay. You're good. You're great. You're so fun.
Well,
you're like, wait, I got it.
But it's been really interesting to watch how industry really wants to stay involved, and see the results. And that's kind of what we can do, is we can adjust very quickly to what their needs are. Oh, you need X, Y, and Z? We can do that. Let's find an instructor. We can do that, because they're teaching community classes, and it's available to everyone. And so that's really been, just super key for us. And then also for large corporations. I mean, we are, if you look at a wellness program, we're just like the gym. Where do you get the opportunity to come, relax, unwind, use your hand, lower your heart rate, lower your blood pressure? Where do you get that connection, right? Because that's what we need for our mental health, is that connection with other people.
Totally.
So if you were a corporation that really wanted to say, hey, yeah, I value my employees, how am I retaining my employees? Well, I'm offering CreatorWorks memberships to my employees.
Brilliant.
And then you can also do like days of build, where a company could come in and they could build something. Maybe somebody's retiring. So instead of a pizza party, they come and they build some kind of workbench, and then that person gets the workbench. Or maybe there's a big anniversary. So you learn different skill sets and qualities of your coworkers.
And you haven't thought about this at all.
No. Just every single angle is all.
Is this what keeps you up at night?
It really does.
You wake up in the middle of the night and write stuff down?
Yeah, well, and it's equal parts incredibly exciting and super frightening, because we just don't have anything like that this here.
That means you're doing something right, I think.
Right. You should be equally frightened.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's what we're telling our students, right? Take a chance. Do
Try
the research.
something new.
Try something new. So we have to live that as an example. Take those risks.
For sure.
Measured risks.
Right, for sure. Well, we're going to wrap up a little bit, but go dirt.
Yay.
Yeah. And I mean, I honestly didn't even know this existed in our community until I started doing the story. So
yeah, and Chris is amazing. He is
amazing.
He has a way of, telling the story about space through his desigin.
He was a good catch for this project.
He really was. I feel so incredibly lucky that he said yes.
Yeah.
I said, I got a crazy idea, Chris. He's
like, all right. And then I think Samantha, I don't know if she wants to be on the podcast, but I'm going to make her.
Good.
So it'll be like the other little part of this whole story.
Yes.
So stay tuned for that, everyone. All right, Taneea Browning, final 3.
Okay.
Best advice you've ever been given.
Okay. From my dad. And I'm pretty sure I was a snotty little teenager.
I was, so.
Definitely was. And I can't remember exactly the context, but I remember clear as day what he said. And it was basically, sweetheart, it is not who you know. It is how smart you are. And that just followed me. I was like, okay, I need to be really smart. And listen, he didn't say that. I found that out later, because you can be smart as all get out, but if you don't listen, it doesn't really matter.
Very good advice.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dad.
Yeah, thanks, Dad.
That's a good one. If you ever left this place, Southern Oregon, what would bring you back here? What would you miss the most?
The people, which I'm sure is what everyone says, but I just love the people. Super kind. And then Central Point, I mean, it's like, it really is like, you kind of feel like you're in Mayberry a little bit, like you wave to Jan at Fidelity, and you just know everyone, and they genuinely care about you. Like They care, how your parents are doing, and, what did you eat? Like recently, what are you enjoying? And they genuinely care, and I love that.
Aw, that's really sweet. I like that. And then if you were ever given a final meal and a final drink, what would that look like?
Oh, so it's not local, but
it's okay.
I love it. So Screen Door, Portland, fried chicken and waffles. So good. Like, it is so good. It's worth the 2-hour wait.
Okay.
Now, if you're by yourself, you can get in party of one. You can use party of one, always rocks when you're at those kind of places. So anyways, fried chicken.
Fried chicken and waffles.
And they have a killer Arnold Palmer with this peppered maple syrupy sweetener.
Yeah, this is the second time you've mentioned Arnold Palmer's.
I love them.
And that's iced tea and lemonade.
Yep.
Half and half.
Yep. It's like a perfect drink.
Okay.
Yeah, little lemonade, little tea to keep you going.
Little sweet.
Yeah.
Nope, sour.
But not too much caffeine.
Right.
So you can kind of drink it whenever.
Perfect.
Yeah.
That sounds like a delight. That sounds like something Southern. Like,
and they vary.
Okay.
So it's not like you just get a Pepsi or a Coke, like because there'll be different twists on them.
Sure.
And they're kind of custom, so it can kind of reflect where you're at.
I love it. That's awesome. Fried chicken and waffles.
Yep.
And an Arnold Palmer. Taneea Browning, you are so much fun. If you are listening to this podcast on iTunes and you like it, please subscribe, rate, and review. It helps other people find us. You can also check out the video portion of this podcast at ktvl.com. Just click on features and then off script. One more time, you're a hoot and a half.
Hoot and a half.
A hoot and a half. Taneea Browning, direct involvement, recreation, teaching, or dirt. Thank you so much. Good luck with CreatorWorks.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been wonderful.